Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, Accidental Beauty. I'm Laura and today I'm going to be talking about how to care for your dyed hair. So I'm specifically talking about semi-permanent dyed hair because there is a difference between semi-permanent and demi-permanent and permanent. I'm not going to be talking about those. I'm just going to be talking about semi-permanent hair. Okay, so now that we cleared that. So I have some notes here just on my phone. I'm going to be reading those because there's quite a few of them and obviously I can't remember everything. And I'm for sure going to be missing something, so I'm sorry if I forget. If you have any additional questions, you can ask them in the comment section. Anyway, so let's get to it. Alright, so in no particular order, I sort of tried to go, I guess in like logical order, but there isn't really an order to this. Just kind of some of my tips, some things that I found. I've been bleaching and dyeing it for about, I guess like 2.5 years or so now. And then before that I was just dyeing over top, like, you know, my natural dark brown hair. So I've been doing this for a while is basically what I want to say. So I've learned a lot of things. I'm not a professional. I do this, you know, for fun and to save money. These are just sort of tips I picked up along the way. I've done a lot of research before I even started doing anything with my hair. So I've learned a lot and here are my tips that I want to share with you. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I have here is wash your hair in cold water. I can't stress this enough. You cannot, even though I know warm showers are the best, if you can't take a bath, it's the best. But if you want your hair color to stay vibrant, you have to wash it in as cold water as possible. Now, I live in Canada, and even though it's April right now when I'm filming this, we in Canada are going through what we like to call second winter, which is winter seems like it's ending. It feels like spring. You start seeing some greenery happening. Oh, but no, there's an ice storm going on outside my window right now as we speak. So basically my point is it gets cold in Canada, so I get it. I get that you don't want to take an icy shower, but if you want your hair color to stay vibrant, you have to wash it in cold water. That's what you have to do, especially certain colors will fade quicker than others. So any reds, pinks, I've got some fading happening. They're just gonna fade quicker. That's just sort of the nature of that pigment. Not a whole lot you can do except for, you know, the tips that I'm telling you. But yeah, wash in as cold water as possible. You don't have to wash your body in cold water, but you have to wash your hair in cold water. Second tip is wash your hair as little as possible. Every time you wash your hair, every time your hair gets wet, the color's gonna fade. That's just kind of how it goes. So if you can avoid washing as often as you possibly can without looking, you know, like a grease ball, then do that. I typically wash my hair about once a week. I've stretched it to about a week and a half, but by then like my hair was super flat. It was not cute. But if you can wash your hair, yeah, I say typically about once a week, or if you can go longer, that's great. Yeah, that'll prolong the color because obviously your hair isn't getting as wet, so which means it's not fading as much. So on non-wash days, dry shampoo is your friend. I like to use Batiste. I think it's a really great dry shampoo. I'm also using Pantene dry shampoo. It's good. It feels a bit heavier in my hair than the Batiste, so I kind of prefer the Batiste. Play around with some brands if you have the cash to do that. When I'm trying out new products, I'll buy one, use it. If I don't like it, buy a different brand next time. So you can kind of see what you like, what you don't like. A lot of people like Batiste, and I find I really like it. It feels very lightweight in my hair, but really use whatever works for you. Next tip, use a color-safe shampoo and conditioner. And what do I mean by that? A lot of shampoos and conditioners that you can buy just kind of at the drugstore will often strip your hair of color, like semi-permanent dye, because they're formulated to fit sort of the average hair, and then obviously each one will sort of focus on, you know, for dry hair, for curly hair, whatever. Some of them will actually say safe to use on colored hair, so buy those. There are also obviously more sort of salon professional brands that I think are pretty much safe for colored hair, like, Redken or Joico. The brands that you see at a salon, I feel like those are probably good to use on colored hair, but don't quote me on that. Often they'll say it right on the bottle, or if you go into any store that sells a lot of hair products and things like that, someone should be able to tell you. But yeah, often they'll say it either directly on the front of the bottle or on the back somewhere that, safe to use on colored hair. A lot of Ion products, which is Sally's line of products, often those are safe to use on colored hair. If you just Google it, I'm sure you'll find a lot of options. And they don't have to be expensive either. There are some that are quite affordable. A non-color safe shampoo, so just like your average, you go to the drugstore, you pick off a shampoo and conditioner off the shelf. Chances are they're probably not color safe, so don't buy them if you want to prolong your hair color. Especially Head & Shoulders is actually good to use to remove color because it strips the color from your hair. So please use a color safe shampoo and conditioner. Alrighty, next tip, avoid heat styling as often as you can, and that means straightening, that means curling, that means crimping, that means blow drying. Avoid it. Now, you don't have to give it up forever, but any kind of heat will also strip the color from your hair. So if you absolutely need to straighten your hair or curl your hair or even blow dry your hair, do it as little as possible. I'd say maybe 1 to 2 times a month. I usually do it once a month, if that. I don't really style my hair actually very much, but if I'm going to an event or if I'm doing a photo shoot or something and I want my hair to look nicer, then I'll do my hair and then I'll sort of say, okay, it's a special occasion, so I'll let it slide. For blow drying your hair, a lot of blow dryers have the cool setting, so if you can use that, it might take a little bit longer to blow dry your hair, but it's worth it because it won't strip your hair of the color. Oh, and another thing, if you still want to look cute, but you're obviously giving up your straightener or hair curler or whatever, there are a lot of cute heatless hair tutorials on YouTube and Pinterest that I absolutely love, so check those out. I can actually leave a link in the description bar to my Pinterest board of cute hairstyles. So check those out. Lots of braids and heatless curling methods using socks and things like that. So anyways, there's lots of things out there. You just have to kind of look for them. So I'll leave a link below for some tutorials that I like. Okay, another thing. I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure it is true, but I haven't seen this myself on my own hair. So I've heard that being in direct sunlight can actually fade your hair color. So if you can either avoid being out in the sun, which is what I do because I never go out, that's good. Otherwise, wear a hat, that sort of thing. Try and keep your hair up and out of the sun as much as possible because some fading will occur. I don't think it'll be as much as, let's say, washing your hair or heat styling, but it can happen. Okay, the last one under sort of my tips section, and then I have another section of more warnings and things to keep in mind. So my last tip for you is, I completely forgot. Oh, right. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it on hair that has sort of multiple colors in it, just because it might be difficult to do this, but let's say purple is your thing. Your hair is purple, you want to have purple hair forever, which is cool. You might want to consider products that deposit color every time you wash your hair. So products, let's say Overtone, and I think Ion recently came out with one as well. It's sort of if you're familiar with purple shampoo, which tones your hair if you've bleached it, so it sort of keeps brassy yellow out of your hair and keeps it more blonde. Instead, it deposits color into your hair, but not as much as a hair dye would, just enough to sort of keep the vibrance from fading. I haven't actually tried them myself. I like to change my hair color pretty frequently, pretty much when this fades, I'm gonna do a different color or a series of colors. As much as I love this, I have so many more colors planned, so not really what I'm looking for, but someone who wants to keep the same color forever might be interested. All right, now for sort of the warning section, not to scare people away from dyeing their hair, but just things to keep in mind. So as I mentioned, hair color fades every time you wash it. Often what you'll see with certain brands that make semi-permanent dye is the color will just bleed everywhere. It'll just, if you dye your hair red, your bathtub or your shower or whatever will just look like a murder scene. It'll just be red everywhere. When I wash my hair, there's blue everywhere, like literally everywhere. So you have to learn how to be very careful when you wash your hair. Even when you dye your hair, just be very careful because the dye might get everywhere, and it runs off. Manic Panic, which is what I used, all three colors in my hair are all Manic Panic. Manic Panic is notorious for having their dye bleed everywhere, which could have to do with the formulation and the richness of color. I'm not really sure because I've used a couple different brands and I've seen variations. So anyways, things to keep in mind, just be careful when you're rinsing your hair so that it doesn't get everywhere. It just sort of stays at the bottom and then goes down the drain. And then make sure you also scrub your shower because it might stick to the sides of the tub or the shower or whatever. So just clean up because the stuff stains, as you can see. And speaking of staining, be prepared that your clothes might get stained. Let's say you're wearing a white old t-shirt to go to sleep. I have found that sometimes the neckline, like in the front and especially at the back, can get stained by my hair. I haven't really had it actually this time around, but in general, and like I sleep with my hair up, like it's up in a ponytail, but sometimes for whatever reason, like I guess I sweat at night or whatever, and yeah, sometimes the neckline can get stained, so it can happen to your clothes, it can happen to like just your regular clothes. So just be careful. Yeah, don't wear like, your $5,000 Gucci top or whatever if you don't want it to get stained, because these things can happen with dyed hair. And on the note of staining as well, when your hair gets wet, color will run from it. Certain brands less so, or basically not at all, but definitely for Manic Panic, when your hair gets wet, the color just bleeds from it, as I mentioned. And again, also it fades. If you're out in the rain, be careful and, try and keep your hair as dry as possible, because again, your clothes will get stained. A couple years ago, I went to Warped Tour, and the scene is full of, scene kids. A lot of people with brightly colored hair go to Warped Tour, and it rained that year. My hair was fine. I can't remember what dye I was using at the time, but I think it was faded pastel by that point, so it wasn't really running, or it was a different brand that didn't fade and didn't bleed. But a lot of kids had like just blue faces because of the hair dye running down their face, or the clothes were stained. Not cute. So just be careful, and I'll show you there's some things that you can do to prevent that if you do have, let's say, Manic Panic in your hair. Oh, and also another thing is if you're going swimming, particularly in a chlorinated pool, be careful because your hair might turn funny colors thanks to the chlorine. So I've heard of people's hair going like a greenish color. I think if their hair was, I think blonde, sometimes your hair can turn greenish. Basically, chlorine can sometimes do funny things to your hair, so I would wear like a bathing cap or something, just something to keep your hair dry. If you are planning on going swimming and getting your hair wet. And even if you're not planning on getting it wet, you might want to put it up in a bathing cap just in case, because you don't want things to happen to your hair. You should be fine in, like, let's say you're swimming in the ocean, or you're swimming in like a non-chlorinated pool, but there's like, I think it's like salt water or something else that they do in some pools. You should be fine, but your hair might fade and bleed in the water, so keep that in mind. When you wash your hair, there are some products you can use to keep the color from fading as quickly. It won't prevent fading completely, but it'll sort of slow down the process a little bit. Sally makes this thing, it's sort of like a hair mask almost, that you put in your hair. It's sort of like a conditioner called an after color sealer. So basically, you put this on definitely right after you dye your hair, so you wash the excess dye out of your hair. You put this in, leave it on for a couple minutes, it sort of conditions your hair and then locks the color in as tightly as possible, and then just wash it out. And then I just use this, they say you can use it as a conditioner when you wash your hair, like, you know, a couple times a week or something like that. I only wash my hair once a week, so I just sort of use this in addition to shampoo, conditioner, hair mask, like whatever I'm doing that day. So this is what it looks like. From the Ion color line, they have like different lines of products. So this is the color line. So it's color solutions, hydrates, seals cuticle while adding shine, color defense after color sealer with chroma extend. Basically locks in your hair color. They also make their own version of Olaplex. So it's a 2-step process called Absolute Perfection, and it prevents damage that's going to be done by bleach. I think you can also do it when you dye your hair, but I've only used it when I bleached my hair. So step 1, you mix it into your bleach. It reduces the strength and the amount of damage that's done by the bleach, so you can actually leave it in your hair longer. And then this is step 2, which is called the color sealer. Helps restore moisture and smoothness while protecting and strengthening hair that has been chemically treated. Virtually the same product as what I just showed you. Actually, I should compare ingredients to see if it's actually the same. Okay, there are no ingredients on here. I think it's more or less the same product. But you mix a little bit into your hair, use it as conditioner. It'll prevent your hair from fading. It won't stop it completely, but it'll sort of slow down the fading process. Okay, so those are like as far as products that I use to prevent fading. I use those. A couple more sort of warnings. So I mentioned that when I sleep, sometimes my hair bleeds a little bit, especially the first few times before the color really starts fading. I definitely notice my hair bleeds a little bit at night, like especially like sort of at the back of my neck along my hairline. What I do is I sleep with a towel, like an old towel on my pillow. Some people sleep with just they use a black pillowcase. I don't have any of those, so I just use an old towel. It basically, if my hair does bleed while I'm sleeping, at least it won't ruin my sheets. And I don't really care about this old towel, so it's all good. And one last tip. When you wash your hair, while your hair is wet, it can still bleed. So when you're drying your hair, use an old towel as well, because you don't want to ruin a towel because of dye. I've done it before. Not cool. I mean, if you don't care about your towels, or if you have like a really dark colored towel that you can't really see hair dye, go for it, I guess. Do whatever you want. But if you don't want your towels to be ruined, use an old one on your hair. So those are all my tips, tricks, and warnings for how to care for semi-permanent dyed hair. If you have any more questions, or if I missed something, please comment in the comment section below and ask away. I'm always happy to answer questions. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I post lots of just artsy pictures of me, travel pictures, food pictures. So my handles for both of those are at Loria1. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.